Hi students, welcome to the lesson number 11, James David Mooney's Principles of Organization. Objectives of this lesson are to understand the life and career of James David Mooney, to understand the contribution of James David Mooney, to elaborate Mooney's principles of organization, to examine the relevance of Mooney's principles of organization in the contemporary administrative situations. James David Mooney was an early leader in managerial theory. Recording is a theories and real life experience in the widely used onward industry, published in a revised edition as the Principles of Organization. He succeeded in applying American approaches to a great range of conditions in other countries. J.D. Mooney became the pioneer in the development of management thought and the nature of organization. James David Mooney was born in Cleveland, Ohio, USA on 18th February 1884. Mooney attended the Case School of Applied Science in Cleveland, and in 1908 he received a Bachelor of Science in Mining and Metallurgy. After graduation, he went on gold mining expeditions in Mexico and California. After the First World War, Mooney was appointed as President and General Manager of Delco Remy, a General Motors subsidiary. In 1922, Mooney was made President of General Motors overseas, responsible for operations around the world. J.D. Mooney's works, The Science of the Industrial Organization, The New Capitalism, it was published in New York, Macmillan in 1934. J.D. Mooney's and A.C. Reilly's had worked on formulating a classical theory and published it in 1931, which was published later as Onward Industry. Mooney republished it as The Principles of Organization in 1939. According to J.D. Mooney, the principles of organization are universal and have been in existence since antiquity in all types of governments, absolute aristocracies, democracies, and tyrannies. The most modern of all of them is totalitarianism, but the principles remain the same, that is, coordination, scalar, and functionalism. According to classical theory, organization is a formal structure of plan amenable to creation in accordance with the clearly understood the principle, much like the plan of building prepared in advance by the architect according to some principles. This concept stems from two beliefs, namely, there is a body of principles by which Organization plan can be spelled out to fit into the requirements of the chosen purpose or activity. Second, requisite. Personnel must meet the requirements of this preconceived plan. It may thus be seen that this theory views organization as a machine, considering the human beings who run it as mere components. Classical theory manifests four features. These are impersonality, division of work, hierarchy, and efficiency. Further, it is marked by the six philosophical characteristics. These are: 1. It is atomistic in the sense that it sees the individuals in isolation from fellow men. Second, it is mechanistic because it does not explain the dynamics of organizational behavior. Third, it is static because it has declared pattern of relationship established by law. 4. It is voluntaristic because it rests upon the trusting belief that the individuals are resistant to control either by the groups or by social factors. 5. It is rationalistic because tasks are performed according to methods determined by the principles of scientific work performance. 6. It does not take any note of non-economic incentives. James David Mooney and Alan C. Reilly were the first in USA to formulate the classical theory in 1931 when their book Onward Industry was published. Later, in 1939, they republished the same book under the new title, The Principles of Organization. The principles framed the basis of efficient functioning of the organization. They popularized organization charts and manuals which have been classified as coordination, scalar process, functional differentiation, line and stop agencies. Now, we will discuss briefly about these. First, coordination. Mooney defined the coordination as the orderly arrangements of group effort to provide unity of action in the pursuit of common purpose. According to him, coordination is the first principle of organization and includes within itself all other principles which are subordinate to it and through which it operates. If further observed, coordination is no less than the determining principles of organization, the form which contains all other principles, the beginning and the end of all organized efforts. Next, scalar process. Mooney and Reilly emphasized hierarchy in organizational design and called it the scalar process. According to them, it constitutes the universal process of coordination through which the supreme coordinating authority operates throughout the whole organization. They stated that scalar process has its own principle, process and effect. These they referred to as a leadership, delegation and functional definition. Third, functional differentiation. Mooney and Reilly have suggested that the functional principle should be followed in organizing tasks into departments. According to them, functionalism means the differentiation between kinds of duties. This is the concept of division of labor or specialization. Fourth, line and stop agencies. Mooney and Reilly suggested that the line management should be vested with the authority to get things done. At the same time, they recognized the role of staff in providing advice and information. According to the Mooney, the staff is in the expansion of the personality of the executive. It means more eyes, more ears, and more hands to help in the informing and carrying out is the plans. James David Mooney has advocated 8 principles of organization. These are: 1. The coordinative principle. 2. Authority. 3. Mutual service. 4. Doctrine. 5. Discipline. 6. Scalar principle. 7. Functional principle. 8. The stop phase of functionalism. Now we will discuss one by one. 1. The coordinative principle. According to Mooney, coordination is the first principle of any organization. Organization begins when people can combine their efforts for a given purpose. Coordination is the orderly arrangement of group efforts to provide unity of action in the pursuit of common purpose. The first principle of coordination expresses the principle of organization in toto because other principles are contained in it to make it more effective. The two objectives of an organization are external and internal, and the internal objective always leads to coordination. The second, authority. Coordination must remain a consistent factor in an organization, whatever that external influences are. Authority does not mean autocracy, because in the democracy it rests with a group as a whole, as it resides in the government of the people. Mooney wrote this with reference to the America, but it is applicable in all democracies like India also. Third, mutual service. Community of interest is the legitimate basis of every organization. This implies mutual service, which is universal, transcending, and sphere of organization, and is the basis of all human relations. It is the moral phase of coordination in an organization. Coordination, integration, functional relating, and integrating functioning represent in the formal as well as the human side of the coordination. Since the coordination comprises humans, this principle rests in the psychic fundamentals. Fourth, doctrine. Doctrine means the definition of the objective. In religious organizations, it is grounded in faith, whereas In an industrial organization, it finds roots in surplus through service. In governmental organizations, the doctrines keep changing constantly due to changing leaders and statesmen. The procedure to obtain the doctrine is more important than the doctrine. In simple words, the implementation of the plan or a project is important as the planning stage of the objective. The doctrine of the procedure for its implementation requires as well planned training. Fifth, discipline. Organizational efficiency in the quest for any goal with a doctrine demands its efficient execution via organizational discipline. It needs to begin at the top of the organization to trickle down at the bottom of the line stock, that is, to lead by example. Sixth, scalar principle. Hierarchy forms the foundation of the scalar principle, by which scale means a grade in a series of steps. In an organization, it implies the grading of duties not according to functions, but as for the degrees of authority and corresponding responsibility. This is the phenomenon of the organization of scalar chain. This scalar principle exists wherever there is a superior and subordinate. The scalar chain consists of the various sub-principles. These are leadership, delegation, functional definitions. Seventh one, the functional principle. The functionalism is the definition of various types of duties, but is distinct from the scalar principle, which implies that there is a functional differentiation in the different kinds of duties. Mooney has first explained the functional principle and later described how it is applied to the staff. In the government, the differences in the functions are seen in their end goals, which have been classified by Mooney. They are a determinative, applicative, and interpretive. The last and eighth, the stop phase of functionalism. The earlier principle dealt with the functions and responsibilities of a leader. This principle of functionalism with respect to staff phase deals with the staff services of advice, which is distinct from the authority or command of a leader. James David Mooney said that the words principle and organization are fundamental in our lives in human aspects. The main principles of organization that he gave are inherent in organizations. If we consider it in the present context and especially in India, we see that the principles such as the coordination, delegation, scalar process, and line and staff functions are still found in some form of or the other in organizations. They are so basic that probably an organization cannot work coherently and succeed without them. Mooney was most interested in the sphere of industrial organization, but found in his study that the underlying principles in all the organizations are same. Thank you.